Greetings and welcome back to my channel, Meta Messiah. Today I need to lay it all down, even if I'm putting myself on the line for Kanagawa Nami, Okinami. I write a very long, kind of like a mini essay almost, or narrative in the Telegram about Okinami now that EIP 4844 has started with Ethereum. This is an Ethereum beginning of a new update that's extremely important. And there was some disappointment in the community because people thought that on March 13th, when the surge and EIP 4844 went live, that the dev of Okinami was just going to reveal something. And they didn't. There's nothing that we've seen from the dev. The website's still down. I get the disappointment. I'm, it wasn't a surprise, but yeah, of course I'm disappointed that the dev is not at least throwing us a bone here. But speaking of bone, in a very important ecosystem is Shiba Inu. And I go into, like I said, this little mini essay, this narrative about how I think the Okinami community basically needs to shift its focus from Suka and all these other tokens claiming the Ryoshi narrative. There's a good number of them out there that came out around the time of Suka and Okinami. I don't want to name names to draw FUD on them. I don't think a lot of these tokens are truly connected to a Ryoshi. Maybe this division, but not necessarily these very mysterious figures I consider to be Ryoshi. And so without going into those, but I will talk about Suka because it's a parallel narrative to Okinami, and it came out around, actually close to around 6 weeks or so before Okinami launched. And they have very much the same code, but I don't think there's anything all that unique to Suka's code or Okinami's for an ERC20. The execution layer on both are there's a different layer of the contract that's different either way that belongs to Suka, belongs to Okinami. Daruma, another token, I'm not going to go into detail about that one, but it actually has also the same token contract or smart contract, except for the execution layer, I believe, as well. And so they all came out very much close to each other, but I'm going to primarily focus my attention and my monologue here on Suka, Okinami, and then Shib. First off, I made an observation over the period of 2 years. I've seen much more FUD and dissing from the Suka community than I have ever seen from the Shiba Inu community. In fact, I've seen more likes, more positives come out of the Shiba Inu community than I have ever seen come out of the Suka community. However, there are some members of the Suka community that are very strong supporters of Okinami, and I commend them. I think there are some people who share Ryoshi's vision in the Suka community that have tried to welcome Okinami into that ecosystem with open arms. However, Suka as a community as a whole, I do believe could be, opposed and adversarial to Okinami. And the reason I say this is a couple reasons. First of all, they have always been very anti-Shitoshi, anti-Shib within that group, certain people. That being in Suka. Namely, calling out Shiba Inu for its lack of decentralized or pure DeFi nature anymore. It's not what Ryoshi started. It's a different animal altogether. They don't like what Shitoshi's done with the project. The other big reason is they launched first. They made sure they launched first. And I talk about this in this narrative that you can read in the Telegram. It's all this is in the links here for the video. At any rate, the Suka folks, the devs, the people the founders of that project, I believe they knew Okinami was going to come at some point. I believe that they were very well aware of Okinami because this is a splinter group from Shiba Inu And they basically said, we are going to do our own thing. And we are going to create Suka as this own narrative, and the connections to Ryoshi then being their claim, their stake to this claim is the Ryoshi Research X account, what was once Twitter. And as you may know the story in Suka, 4 days after Suka launches, I believe, you see the Ryoshi Research update its profile picture with Milarepa. Now, let me just point something out with that one. We have to talk about that Ryoshi Research. It has said nothing on there. There have been no likes, there have been no shares, there have been no comments, there's been no posts on Ryoshi Research for 2 years. Thereabouts. Okay. It is interesting that after Suka launches, you do see that event occur. Now, the name Suka, this is very mysterious too, because Suka actually has a Japanese meaning. It means digital currency. It also means the blade, the handle of the blade, I believe. Now, Dejitaro Suka, digital currency. Suka, okay, which is the other half of the name, Dejitaro, then Suka. Suka is actually a word in Japanese, that's Japanese. Okay. Sangyang Haruka wrote the songs of Milarepa. That is not Japanese. Dejitaro Suka is Japanese language. Sangyang Haruka, an author who wrote about Milarepa, TS, okay, U.K.A, yes, you can make that connection. But that's completely coincidental in my mind, because these are two different languages. Okay? Although the Milarepa character, okay, I'm gonna pivot this. If Suka wants to claim Milarepa and Ryoshi Research as their own, let me flip it. What if Ryoshi Research updated before Okinami came out, which helps Suka more because it's post-launch. But in Okinami's narrative, you actually see Mount Kailash, which has the direct connection with Milarepa because it's part of the songs of Milarepa. It's part of the Milarepa story. He's one of the only people fabled to have climbed the impossible climb of Mount Kailash. So if Ryoshi Research updates, we see Milarepa, and that's part of the Okinami story. Okay, so somebody could argue the LARP of Okinami is, well, they saw that and they put it in the narrative. Okay. Which, how could Suka have foreseen that? Okay. Because it came before. It does help Suka on their arguments more than it helps Okinami, by far. By far. But I'm just saying, okay, there's problems on both sides of the story, because while Suka can say, oh, look, Sangyang Haruka, Sangyang, TS, UKA, not even, this is closer to Sanskrit and stuff. This is more on the Hindu side of things, Buddhism, outside of Japan. Dejitaro Suka is the whole name of Suka's token. Suka's the name of the token name, the short name. Okay, hear me out. Two different linguistics, far apart actually in the world. Japan and where the Himalayas are, and Nepal and northern India are very far from Japan. And in fact, it took a long time for Buddhism even to make its way to Japan. And yet, Suka, the dragon, the blade handle, okay, digital currency, you're making an extrapolation to say, oh, Sangyang Haruka, that must be us. I did not see in Suka's early origin a Milarepa story or a Mount Kailash story at all. I don't see stars in a moon. That's the other thing. The background of the Ryoshi Research Twitter is like, a moon and the stars. But Milarepa is a very important Buddhist teacher, okay, for lack of better words for him. This is not to say Sukha's a scam. It's not to say that at all. I believe Sukha has its origins with those who left Shiba Inu, the devs that didn't agree with Satoshi Kusama. I believe that they made Sukha to fulfill a vision that they thought was to be Ryoshi's vision. I mean, to share the same vision, to come up with this colossal story in a bear market, and to bring back that spirit of Ryoshi at the very least, even if they also are a LARP. But then again, is Ryoshi a LARP in and of itself? A live action role play of actually a esprit de corps, spirit, a vision that has this ephemeral, but part of the collective consciousness, something we all can share in, a myth, a legend, okay? They're building a myth and a legendary character in Ryoshi that may not be a single individual because nobody can find out who this is. When you're just going on the Telegram and Discord and there's an account there, how do you know that it's all the same person running it? And if one person's running it, they could just be the persona playing the part. Okay? It's been this long now, and Sukha has not come to the table with Okinami and said, like Hoshi and Shield, be a part of this bigger thing. Sukha is Sukha. There's clear that they are isolated. It's clear what they've selected their ecosystem for this bull run. Their narrative for the bull run is Sukha and those things that they allow in their Telegram, principally that star Hoshi and the Shield, okay, seem to be accepted within that ecosystem for what they're doing. And they only use the imagery of Ryoshi and that maybe that Hokusai art piece of the fisherman at the shore as part of their imagery because they claim to be Ryoshi's token. One thing that Sukha does not have that Okinami does have is one of the first images posted on the blockchain, which is this very strange pixelated kind of image or pixel art that kind of looks in color-wise like the Great Wave off Kanagawa because it shares the color scheme. The color scheme of that pixelated piece, it looks similar to the logo of Okinami and represents it, but when you actually manipulate the image and you put it together, it looks like a Shiba Inu dog in there. Nothing other than filters and just mirroring one side to the other to make it more apparent. But even if you don't mirror it, you can still see it. It almost looks like a dog going like that. Okay? Like wink, wink. To me. And other people agree with me. I'm not the only crazy person who thinks this. It's up there to look at. I mean, it's undeniable that with just a chromatic filter and splitting it down the middle. There was some manipulation done to the color scheme by virtue of a filter, yes. And the original digitized picture was ran through another filter just to pick out from a pattern. It was just pattern recognition out of it. Okay, so what's there is there. You can't reproduce that unless you use the same exact thing. At least I don't think you can. But when you save it onto a desktop, you have to name it something, which was done. The metadata was pulled out, and you see this word LARP1. Okay, we've gone over this. LARP1? Well, what if Shiba Inu was LARP2? What if Ryoshi's a live action role play? In the world of crypto, could mean pretending something that isn't really what it is. Okay? Nobody walked this earth that we know of named Ryoshi. It was a name. It's just a name. It's a persona. There is no real person named Ryoshi. Ryoshi's not somebody in the phone book. You can look him up. You can't skip trace Ryoshi. Ryoshi, in my mind, is a very secret, very disciplined group, disciples of Satoshi Nakamoto, created Bitcoin. Vitalik Buterin probably knows who they are, okay, personally. This is a theory. Behind the creation of Shiba Inu were some very based ETH devs. Vitalik probably may have eventually come to know who they are because they used to do work for ETH. Or they were the progeny in terms of the discipleship, okay, of Satoshi, new devs to go out to create new things, to bring people into DeFi. And Vitalik may have bolstered that because it was very good for Ethereum. And it was very good for his bag of tokens. It was good for Shib. It was good for ETH. Everybody wins. Wag me. Okay? So, in many ways, in DeFi, there's mysteries and people are not doxxed. And there's lots of anonymous, surreptitious, clandestine things that happen behind the scenes. Bitcoin. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It's not that dude. They thought it because of his name. It's not the guy in the recent lawsuit in the UK who's not, the court found is not Satoshi. But I do believe there's a common connection. And he's taught people, say, how am I going to prolong what I'm doing unless I have disciples? If you were a master, you have to have teaching to a disciple. They carry it on. They're carrying it on. That's where I think kind of Shiba Inu got its launch, was by these close connections with Satoshi. They became intermixed with the ETH Foundation in some ways. They became entangled through working on things in high level stuff. And that's kind of how this world works. Devs working together. They may not necessarily... Thunder. They may not be necessarily in the same project, but there's collaboration. And where there's collaboration, there's networking. And where there's networking, there's working on projects for the greater good of everybody. Suka's looking for the greater good of Suka. Suka's looking for the greater good of DeFi in some ways. It's not all good. There are people who are running with it in that ecosystem that'll be doing good, bad, and everything. That's the evolution of a lot of tokens. Same thing happened with Shiba Inu. As they get bigger, they become more centralized. It's very hard to maintain the decentralized aspect of something, and that's exactly what Ethereum's trying to do, is to maintain its DeFi nature through a very complicated set of community-run and built factions and how shall I say, gilded together in the way that they work together. Okay? So in a sense, Ryoshi's like a guild that builds now. And they've, in my opinion, gone off and are building. And they're doing things. What they're destined to do, I can't say for certain. But I think Suka in its narrative is looking to do its thing. It's not looking to do anything with Okinami now. Perhaps down the road. I don't know. They're focused on their growth. They're focused on their ecosystem. Fine. It's not a scam. I'm not trying to FUD them. But you have to look at things in terms of maybe somebody did do a SIM swap or something to the Ryoshi Research X account. And because it was basically more or less dormant and everything was erased from it. Only to flip a switch on a picture. Okay? That's not strong evidence to say, well, the picture, Milarepa, they changed it. It must be. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible that basically Ryoshi was giving a nod to Suka with that. But maybe it's coincidence. Maybe they're already planning to change their picture to Milarepa. Okay? And they reap the benefit of it. But if you look at Ryoshi's multiple people, information, I don't know how secret it is. Okay, I see this group of these disciples of Satoshi. They could have worked on Shib. Okay, those that left Shib said we're doing our own thing. We're making Suka. Perhaps in all that, there was this other group that's been around a lot longer, because Okinami's wallet predates the deployer wallet of Okinami predates Shib's by 40 days. Divine number, the next big thing, the next big task, the rebirth. And it's funny because it's springtime right now, almost Easter, time of rebirth. As I've said in my narrative, I see Okinami as the next big thing that Ryoshi meant to work on. It only makes sense in as far as the 40 days before the Shiba Inu deployer wallet. It's fact, it's blockchain. This is a fact. It's 40 days before Shiba Inu's deployer wallet existed Okinami's deployer wallet. Things going in and out of that deployer wallet are all factually based. What it means, we don't know, but things have occurred in it over 5 years. Activities of various kinds. And then the emergence of Okinami 2 years ago. Okay, so not quite 2 years, but getting there. I would say in my conclusions, as I was stating, that Okinami's meant to seek out the Shib community to build. It would make sense. It would make sense from the image. Nami ready, Nami army ready, Nami army ready with the Shiba Inu dog. The picture was just meant to show Mount Fuji and the Shiba Inu. I don't think this dev was saying this is my dog. He was putting an image out there to say something. Every image, every little thing said by this dev until now, until the silence, was meant to point us in the right direction. We don't know for sure if the dev will ever come back. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It could mean that, well, he said, look in the pool you least expect. Is it us? The pool is us, the community? Or is it the greater community in DeFi? Perhaps looking at the Shiba Inu folks to say, hey, we have something here that could be a big part of Shibarium, that could be a big part of the Shiba Inu ecosystem, that could be a part of many ecosystems because of what it was designed to do. We have a narrative here that has to be brought to life, be brought to fruition. We need the Shib army to do it. Okay? I don't think Suka's the one to bring it there. I would wager it would be the Shib people because of the connection there. The wave with the little Shiba Inus. That was kind of cool. There's all these imageries. You know, friend in Osaka, Vitalik Buterin, you know, the Shiba Inu dog on the Twitter, now X, feed for Okinami token. These are a tapestry of various things, various evidence. It's all theory. These are theories. I'm not trying to knock Suka in any way. I'm just saying the looks are deceiving. Don't make a fact what is an opinion or a matter of faith. If it's an opinion or a matter of faith, it does not make a fact. A fact is based on objective evidence that proves to anyone who looks at it objectively, they can see the same thing, even though perception might alter what it is. Okay, facts can have different perceptions of it, but a fact is a fact. Okay, water is wet. That's a fact. And so, again, in my conclusions, I think based on this strong connection of the 40 days before the Shiba Inu wallet, the picture of the Shib that comes out of one of the first things that we see in the blockchain messages for Okinami, these blockchain connections, these likes, and just this I feel like there's something going on here. There's this affinity between Shib and Okinami in a sense. I've seen it, likes and people receptive on the Shib side. Suka, yeah, they're already with us. And some people from Suka share the vision of Ryoshi, and they're very good community members for Okinami. But just as, you know, there are deviations in crypto, projects that split different ways. That could be what it was and what it is, at least for now. You know, like the two factions at war till they come to peace. But Shib is the army willing to take on our side I don't think Shib is there to take on Suka's side. Suka and Shib feel adversarial. Okinami and Shib feel like they can have an alliance. And so I'm going with that. And I really appreciate all the Suka people in our community. But look at things for what they are. And theorize on things based on what we can see and kind of put together and make theories from that make sense. And you can go many different ways with it. But I'm going the way I am because I believe the way I believe. However, you know, in going back to all the things I wrote in the Telegram today, I want to see Okinami be successful. I want to see it fulfill the vision. I want to see Okinami as Ryoshi's grand opus, because Shib Inu was like, "This is my opus." You know, your opus, your grand work. Okay, your work that you're building your reputation on and all that. There's your opus. Boom. That's Shib. Ryoshi said, "Shib is my opus, but Okinami is my grand opus. I created that first." Okay, and now it's time for it to come into being. I'm trying to explain things to y'all, guys. Like, share, I hope, comment. Let me know what you think. I really hope you enjoy the video and the content. This video, I hope, sheds some light on some things, so don't take it the wrong way. There's plenty of conjecture. There's plenty of room to debate. But if you would still subscribe and support me in the channel, I appreciate it. There'll be more to cover on this massive story because I don't think it's over yet. I think it's just beginning. And until next time, y'all, take care, namaste, and enjoy the spring season.